All right, and just like that, we are live. Let's just make sure. Sorry. I'm gonna reload page. Stand by. Hey, technology, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
There we go. We are live. So welcome everyone for watching. Thanks for watching. Meet the Masters here with Tim Watson, and I'm joined tonight by Master Dave Mukherjee. Hello, sir.
Hey, Master Watson, how are you, sir?
I'm great, man. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor.
How are you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Just got off work a little early today, and I was waiting for this to happen. So yeah, and after this, I gotta go teach a class.
Oh, nice. What time is your class?
My 6:30, your 7:30. So yeah.
So what class do you have on Friday nights?
This is for the upcoming Black Belt candidates and just a prep class. It's a special class. I don't teach on Friday nights. Our school's closed on Friday nights. So this is a special thing. I think the test will be in May. So we have about, 11 candidates. So get them ready, make them look good, right?
Absolutely. We have one of those tomorrow morning.
Oh, I see.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to do it Saturday morning, but my son plays basketball in serious basketball, and he has a tournament, 3 games starting at 8:30 in the morning. So I'm like, okay, I just gotta go set my priorities straight, right? The family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you of any of the guys I know through the martial arts, you probably are the guy. You got the full-time job. You've got a successful studio. You have, of course, as always, kids that like to do things outside of the dojang as well. So
Right. It's not easy, sir, but I enjoy every bit of it. I enjoy my work. I enjoy my karate. I enjoy my family, right? Not in that order though.
it honestly, it's refreshing to hear. I years ago I worked a job at a bank and it was fine. But as soon as I got the opportunity to go full time as a martial artist, I did. So it's refreshing to hear someone be passionate about both. I think it's awesome.
I truly do enjoy my work, and as you see, I wear this with pride. Great company to be part of, and I've been in the company for 13 plus years, and as longer you stay, better things, things get better more and more. So yeah, and I have no plans for quitting my job anytime soon. So yeah.
I like that. I've always known you as a guy who's good with branding. You got the logo in the back, you got the logo on the hat. I love
I
it.
brand everything, man. I also brand my boards, right? Breaking boards.
Yes, yeah,
I
we have one
brand
of
them. I'm gonna take them home. It doesn't matter. My daughter goes like, "Dad, you put logo everywhere." I'm like, I have logos in my car, 2 or 3 of them, right? So nothing's wrong with it, right?
That's right. I
Yeah.
love it. Hey, we have a couple people saying hi. Zuberi from Region 8 says hello.
Hello,
Uh,
sir.
we got Natalie and Lindsay from Great Britain. They're one of
Hey, how
they're
are
two of
you?
my
I know
my.
it's late for you guys. Not too
It
late.
is late. She says 11 o'clock. But yeah, they pretty much catch every one of my interviews, so it's pretty
Thanks
awesome.
too.
Kelly Ward says hello from Region 4, and Master Sharp says "dumb man."
Master Sharp, my
Yeah,
Korean brother.
that's right. He's the guy. He's the man.
He's the man. He is the man, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
So how's the dojang going down in Texas?
Dojang is, starting this year, and I was as I was talking about Master Sharp, I was chatting with him. We see like a huge influx with new students, and that's crazy, and especially the tiny tigers. I
Mhm.
just can't keep up with tiny tigers all of a sudden. Every other day I have 2 3 sign-ups. So I was telling my wife, I'm like, should I stop taking more tiny tigers, put them in wait list? I don't know what to do. It's a good problem to have, right? Last year we suffered a lot. We hardly have any new students. And this year it's like our enrollment is the highest ever right now. So
Wow.
which is great. And one thing I did, I took Zoom out of it. It was a gutsy move, but Zoom wasn't working real well. Students were not progressing well. So our dojang has a big parking lot outside. I replaced all my Zoom classes with outdoor classes. And cars passing by, honking all the time and giving us inspiration. That's a free advertisement as well. So just can't beat that. But yes, we got out of Zoom like about 2 weeks ago, and it's a huge relief, because we're running hybrid classes. Some people inside, some Zoom, and you cannot really give attention to both, and somebody suffers and then you get complaints. So it's so yeah, just going great.
That's excellent. It's funny. We've been in the same boat lately where I've talked with Master Kaluzny a couple of times. It's like, do we start a waiting list because we've been having the same influx as well. So
Oh, that's nice to know. Yeah,
yeah,
it's kind of everywhere. People are like stuck inside,
absolutely.
for a year, and they just need some kind of outlet, right? And especially little ones, they're going nuts, I guess, at home. So, you know,
Well, yeah, for us, like we've had the track record of, being open since last June and, being safe and doing things the right way. So,
right.
in our community, that word spreads fast. So that's good.
Yes. And we are in that location back in 2007.
Okay.
And it's a nice corner location, big windows. You put the curtains up, put your lights on, and that's free advertisement with cars passing by all the time. So yes, we are blessed.
Nice. Jovel says, "It's good, Master Dave."
He is good. Hey, Hovel, you gotta eat something spicy, man. Come on.
That's awesome. I thought Azil was Master Spicy.
No, but we're trying to get Master Sharp and I trying to get Hobel to eat spicy. He's not
Ah,
used to eating spicy. So he was here, he was at the house, and we cooked him something spicy. Then he wanted to eat. I got him some spicy. He was suffering a lot. We took some pictures. We just kind of make fun of him. Good guy.
yeah,
Pura vida.
that's right. So one of my favorite things about you on Facebook is you seem to be a pretty prolific cook.
I like to cook. I like to cook, but I like to cook Indian food. I grew up in India, so when I kind of closed my eyes, I could see my mom's cooking. Nobody taught me how to cook.
Oh,
So, and I being the youngest in the family, I spent a lot of time with my mom and in the kitchen. And I just could see what spices she's throwing in, how she's cooking. And I started cooking about like 25, 30 years ago. And initially I was like, it doesn't taste like my mom's, right? But over years, I kind of mastered that. And if I mess something up, I call mama, hey, how to, what did I do wrong? What should I do? And so, yes, I love to cook Indian food.
what's your go-to Indian dishes?
I can pretty much cook anything Indian. Well, the thing is that I'm not a good vegetarian cook. So you get me,
I love
chicken, fish,
yeah,
goat meat.
I
Yes,
love goat curry is one of
yes,
my favorites.
mm, yes. I can. I know, and I think Mr. Sharp likes Master G likes my biryani,
Oh man, I love biryani, lamb biryani.
lamb biryani,
Oh,
chicken biryani. Yes, shrimp biryani,
oh man,
whatever that is. Yes,
I need to come down to
you
Austin.
should, man. You should. You
I
should.
love Aaron and I love Indian food. So speaking of Master G, she said, "Look at my handsome brother."
Oh, thank you, Master G. She's my sister.
That's right. So let's go ahead and get started. Talk about how you got into martial arts. Obviously, we all have connection of being in the martial arts, and it's interesting to hear how people get started. Some people through movies, TV. So how did you get your start?
As I said, Master Watson, I grew up in India. I came to this country when I was 24 years old. So
Okay.
I pretty much spent entire childhood and college days in India. And growing up, I grew up in a very small town. Both of my parents were school teachers. So there wasn't enough money at the house, right? So Enter the Dragon came to town. I was 12 years old. Um, my dad wouldn't take me to the movies. It's fighting. I don't want to encourage you to fight. And it's all about karate. It's all about fighting those days and in those countries, right? So my grandpa came to town, my mom's dad, and I'm like, Grandpa, take me to this movie. So grandpa didn't tell my dad. He and my mom collaborated, and then I was in the Enter the Dragon, and I was in awe. When there's some scenes, grandpa say, "Close your eyes." I'm like, okay. So I came out of the movies, and I told my grandpa I want to do karate, and he's like, "You gotta talk to your mom. Nothing I can do about that because my dad was against any kind of activities like that. He's like, go study or go play soccer or go play cricket or whatever that is, right? So I went up to my mom. I'm like, Mom, I gotta do karate. I do karate. Mom is like, well, Dad doesn't want, but I'll see what I can do. So over 6 months or so, I didn't give up. And there was this one karate studio. It's a Japanese karate. It's called Kyokushinkai. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a full contact karate. So all I had was a bike. So I have my gi in my backpack, get on my bike, 2 hours of training twice a week from 7 to 9 o'clock. And I did that for 5 years. And then after that, I had a concussion just in a class doing sparring because we used to spar without gear, no protection and stuff. So I got a roundhouse kick to the head. I was in the hospital for 7 days. My parents go like, "Yes, you're done." so so that was from 12 to 17. So for a year or so, I didn't do any martial arts, and I went to college. Right? I said bye bye to my parents. I was staying in the dorm. I started doing again. I did some taekwondo. It's a funny story. Like in Kyokushinkai, we used to do a lot of low kicks to the legs, right? So taekwondo sparring, I got in there and I boom, first time I hit the leg. And the instructor comes running, he says, "No, you're not supposed to." I'm like, really? Okay, so I had to reset my mind. So I did some taekwondo training for about 4 to 5 years. But it's like it's always off and on, right? Because college life, you got to have your priorities straight for college life too, right? Partying, etc., which was the first priority that time. But yeah, so that's how we started. And then I got a job. I did something else a little bit, but not very consistent, right? My consistent was from 12 to 17. That's 5 years. And then 1996, it's a funny story. I met my sister, Master G, and she introduced me to Tang Soo Do and World Tang Soo Do. She was training in Region 8 and I was in Virginia area, and she invited me over to the dojo, Morningstar Tang Soo Do, and I just not only love the art because it's Shotokan light, right? So I had my all Japanese, things coming back from my childhood. So, and excellent instructors, excellent people in this organization. So that's when I got in with WTSDA, and I'm here since without quitting.
Nice. She told me to ask you about the internet chat rooms back in the day.
That's where I met her.
That's right.
So remember, as a single guy in DC, I come home after work and I go in these AOL chat rooms. AOL chat rooms used to be famous that time. So there's the AOL karate related chat room, and I see a girl talking about karate. hey, who wouldn't like that, right?
Right.
Started chatting with her, and she initially thought maybe I was a creep or something, right? Um, so I go to Morningstar, and she hasn't come out. She sends the head instructor to talk to me. And guess what? The head instructor, I don't know, you know Master Muhib Rahman?
I know him from seeing him on Facebook and seeing posts from you and various people.
Yeah, so Master Rahman was the head instructor there, and we had connections. So I grew up in Bengal, and then he's from Bangladesh, and which is the border of India and Bangladesh, right? So we all of a sudden started talking in some Bengali language, and go like, "Oh, what's going on? These guys are already friends." So yeah, then I really enjoyed training there from 1996, towards the end of 1996 till 2003 that I was there. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so yeah, that would have been. I started in 2001, and so I think my first black belt camp would have been 2004. So you'd have been gone by then.
Right. I went to my first black belt camp, I think, in 1998, maybe. Yes, something like that, or in 2000, most likely
Okay.
2000. Yes.
So what were I've heard stories about those camps back then, but
Oh yes, that's Grandmaster Shin's camps, right?
right, yeah,
Yes, that's like beside for an hour after lunch in the heat.
yep,
That's crazy. Yes, but doing that, I don't think I'll ever forget Basai. I tell all my students that Basai for an hour, one more time. That's that did it for me.
yeah. It was always exhausting, but it was so much fun because you'd line up next to someone that you knew that was going to push through the whole time and
Right.
motivate you, and it was a bonding experience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Speaking of bonding experiences, Master Wheeler says, "Hey, brother from another mother."
Oh yes, Master Willer and our brothers too. We connected in the master's camp. Master Wheeler and I always next to each other tested for 3 years in a row. Um, and the entire camp will be kind of together, right? Great individual, great person. Lucky to have him in my life.
Absolutely. I told him this story when I did the interview with him, that you were a second year when I was a first year candidate, and I just remember seeing you guys, and just the way you guys work just motivated me to continue to push, because you guys were up front leading by example. So I appreciate that. Even though it's been a while at this point, you still have those memories for the rest of your life.
Yes, and Master Wheeler and I were in the group. We were the last one to test for 3 years. So we had the opportunity to be next to each other and be the candidates for 3 years, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I remember we were sparring partners too. We went at each other. I think I made him mad or he made me mad. I don't exactly remember, but it was funny experience.
He said,
Yes.
I hate that his kicks are better."
His kicks are very good as well.
So since we're talking about this, we'll go ahead and talk about another story I have from the Masters Clinic. I mentioned you're leading by example, and I remember we talked at some point, and you expressed your passion for physical fitness and being healthy, and how that's important in your life, and more importantly as a martial arts instructor. Where did that passion come from? Like, as far as being physically fit and working out and things like that.
Um, it's from my dad, in fact. You know, um, I told you that I grew up in a poor household, right? School teachers don't get paid, but somehow he had a set of dumbbell and a bench, and a bench press stand. Okay, so and I would see him waking up in the morning and bench pressing and do arm curls and shoulder press and with one set of barbell, right? That's all with maybe 100 pounds total. But so we got into the dad, gonna work out with you? Yeah, sure, come on, lift some weight, right? It all started there. And he was in pretty good shape. Although, he wasn't like training that hard that time because of taking care of the family and teaching in school and grading and whatnot, right? So, but yes, inspiration comes from my late dad.
That's great. He made, obviously, it sounds like he made fitness a priority and kind of made that something that you strove for as well and still continue to do.
Yes, sir. And I try to do the same thing with my kids. It's not that easy, honestly, but yes. It's
How old
pretty
are
much,
you?
we didn't have electronics, right? All we did was, run around, do stuff, and being physical all the time, right? Now is sitting down electronics, not only electronics, we're talking about TV and, all the other noise in their lives, which sometimes is beneficial, but it kind of hurts them in the long run as well, I believe.
How old are you have twins? How old are they?
They are 13, sir.
Okay.
They
So
are.
I have a 12-year-old. I have a 12 and a 9-year-old. So
Oh, nice.
I'm right there with you.
Yes, sir. Can't wait until they turn 18. Say bye-bye together, right?
So let's go back to the times you talked about, like the black belt camp with Grandmaster Shin and Grandmaster Shin's camp. Do you remember the first time that you got a chance to meet him?
Yeah, first time I met him is at a Region 8 tournament. I was a color belt. He was signing Dobak on the stage, and I went up there and I chatted with him for a little bit, and he signed my Dobak. That's the first time I met Grandmaster Shin. Um, Training wise, except for the black belt camp, couple of black belt camps, I didn't have much opportunity because I was a color belt, right? And I was not at that black belt stage to get a little bit closer to him. When I become a black belt, I moved to Texas. However, Texas and Region 4 being a small region, we got really close with Grandmaster Shin because when he would visit, it's like there's a handful of black belts. He knows everyone by name, and Master Sharp doing an amazing job to make sure we get some FaceTime and talk to him. And Sunday morning we'll always have a class before he fly back to Jersey. And so yes, I think I got more opportunity to train closely with Grandmaster Shin here in Region 4 than in Region 8, honestly.
Yeah, I can totally believe that. We got to see him more,
Right,
but maybe not as personal because
right.
the group was so large.
Yes, sir.
So,
And I
um,
tested for my third degree black belt in front of Grandmaster Shin, and I had to break 3 cinder blocks, and I couldn't break it. And he was giving me some support. I still remember he was trying to tell me that the rubber mat on which the stands were there is like, there shouldn't be any rubber mat. I see the rubber mat going down and up. You had enough power to break those cinder blocks. So just trying to say, oh, okay, I don't suck. I didn't suck, but I did really suck. Great individual. And then, talking about Grandmaster Shin, I used to call him, like, pick up the phone. He's like my dad, right? And I would just call the headquarters. And that time, I'm talking about North Carolina. I'm like, hey, Grandmaster Shin available. And I just speak to him. I just talk to him about nothing, right? And that time, my dad wasn't doing well. And what a great individual he was. He picked the phone and said, Mukherjee. I'm like, yes, sir. How is your dad? the first thing he will ask is how my dad was, not like how are you or how is your family. So, you know, in his mind, this used to be the like his priority to make sure parents are taken care of, and how I'm feeling because my dad is not doing well. So every time I would call, is the first thing he would ask. And I used to tell Master Sharp, I'm like, it's amazing that he remembers, right? He must be talking to thousands of people every day, but he remembers my father is not doing well. And I truly do miss Grandma Shushin. I really do.
Yeah, it's funny. People will say that, I always like that he remembered my name, and then I realized that I'd had it on my uniform. But he really did have a knack for remembering you and remembering things that were important to you.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah. Here, this is a big question. Hovel asked, "What has been one of your best experiences in World Tong Sudal?"
People,
People.
people. Yes.
There you go. I mean, just
Yeah, I
him.
am I'm awed by it. I feel truly blessed. I tell everyone, I have a family all over the world, right? So I was in Costa Rica about 5 years ago, and somebody put a Facebook post, welcome to Costa Rica, what in the class, right? In Spanish, right? So I can go anywhere in the world. I have a brother or sister. How amazing that is. And everybody is good people. I mean, WTSD is full of good individual, like you're spending your own time to do all these month after month after month, right? Throughout the COVID. And nobody asks you to do it, it's for people like you and everybody else. That's my best experience. I can probably go to any martial arts association and know how to kick and punch and do some forms. Doesn't matter.
I, I love that answer, and that's the exact reason why I do this, to connect with. I've connected with so many people. We've had the chance to talk before, but not long with Masters Clinic. But I've talked to people. The first time face to face is over Zoom. A lot of people over Great Britain, South Africa. It's
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
So I 100% agree with you on that. It's when people ask about what the association means to me, it's the brotherhood and the sisterhood that I've been able to be a part of. So
Yes, sir. Definitely.
it's great. So you're in Region 8. Do you go from Region 8 straight to Texas?
Yes, I come to from Region 8 straight to Region 4. Um, yes, back in 2003.
Okay. Did you start a club or studio right from there, or
No,
how did it go?
I never thought I would have a studio. Never thought. In the back of my mind, maybe that that itch was there, maybe, but I'm no businessman. I'm a corporate guy, right? I've been, doing working in the corporate world for years and years and years. So I'm not business savvy. I don't know anything about, lease or contract or none, zero, right? But but it did happen. It kind of fell on my lap, and everybody around me and my family was nervous. But so no, I moved to 2003 here, and I started my school in 2006. So it's 3 years in between.
So were you still training at that point, or
Yes, I did find the school in Austin area. It was all right. I enjoyed my training that I could continue. I didn't have to start all over in some different art, right? Which was great. But and I also had Master Sharp and Master G around. So I used to go to Houston a lot and train with Master Sharp, like at least once a month, because my in-laws were from Houston. So kids are not born. So my wife would say, okay, let's go to Houston, let's spend some time with my sister. So I'll drop her off and then I'll go to Karate Masters to get some training. So I was a first degree black belt that time. And yes, without I guess that support from um, Senior Master Sharp and Master G, most likely I wouldn't continue. I would be past or ex-student by now on WTSD, because although there was a school, I wasn't getting everything what I wanted. I always asked for a little bit more than a lot of other students, and because my hunger, is a little bit more.
Mhm.
And Master Sharp was able to fulfill that for quite a while, and I do truly appreciate him doing that. And that's what this 3 years in between was, right? I tested for second degree, and then I started my school as a second degree black belt.
And that was, you said 2006?
2006. What happened? The school I was training with, that particular instructor kind of got burned out. So he decided to do other stuff and asked me, "Hey, do you want to take the school?" And I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't think I'm ready for it. But I just thought of jumping on, and we were inside a church for 6 months. And that because our church leaves was there are 8 students in the school when I took over. And we stayed in the church for 6 months, and early 2007, we moved out. We said, let's go get a retail location. And my students were very helpful, helping me with understanding some of the business side and the lease and everything. And when I was signing my 5 years lease, I'm like, crap, man, what happens if I fail, right? That's the first thing in your mind, right? Because again, I knew nothing about business. But I kind of learned on my own. Um, and here I am in 2021 running a pretty successful studio in Austin area.
Yeah, and so I guess 15 years this year, right?
Yes, sir.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have a couple of your people chiming in. LaJoy Jacob, I'm an AKA dad of one blue black belt and a blue belt. And Master
Yes.
Mukherjee is the best leader and mentor my kids could get. You rock.
Oh, Mr. Lejoy, thank you.
And then Carla Elk says, AKA Edon, 2008 started as a white belt. Great journey. So,
Miss Eck, how are you?
so let's talk about, again, you're way better at Facebook than I am. You post stuff all the time of
My
cooking.
daughter makes fun of me.
Yeah. You do such a great job of posting stuff about your studio and your students, your instructors. So talk about that the group of students. How many students do you have now? Obviously not 8 anymore.
No, we have 150 students now.
That's great.
Yes, we struggle to get to 50 to 100 to stuck in 140s for a long time, and here we are. So we have amazing students, and the leadership team we have, and a couple of Samdans we have on the studio. They're amazing. Uh, what happened in the past, like when I first started, I used to teach each and every class, right? If I'm not at the studio one day, probably something's not going to work, right? It's going to fail. Now, probably I can go away for a month. The studio would run, you know? Yeah, they would miss me, but the day-to-day stuff will keep going. And that's how amazing my black belts are, and my leadership team is. Um, but we got to build this over years, right? Yes, it took me 15 years.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I see you have a young man. What is his name? Is it Alejandro?
Yes, Mr. Alejandro is my boy. I
Yeah.
know him for 12 years. He comes 2, 3 times a week, teaches every class. And then I have another amazing student. Her name is Miss Ruhlman, Tracy
Yeah.
Ruhlman. She is a professor in UT. She has a PhD, but she is always there. I'm gonna call, hey, Tracy, I need you, and she is there. So without those two, it's gonna be hard for me to survive, honestly. I have to go back teaching every class again, right? And I'm getting old.
Oh yeah, right. You age gracefully. Master Wheeler says, "So glad you endured." Master Sharp also says you're a master of biryani. That's great. So yeah, I've seen pictures of both of them, and like you said, it looks like they definitely support you, and we're starting to get some younger Edons and Samdans that are starting to take more leadership roles in our studio at
Right.
Evolution, and
Well,
it's
the
pretty awesome.
same here. We have another 20, junior Edon and Samdan and some adults as well. I forgot to name some, like Mr. Ed Belly, Mr. Joglikar. They are very helpful. And my younger black belts, as WTSDA says, that you got to teach as a black belt. That's a requirement. And I emphasize that, and they always respond. There's some nights lately, what's happening? I have more instructors, black belts, than color belt students. And I was telling Miss Ruhlman, I'm like, that's a good problem to have, you know. So when I take over, I'm like, hey, all the black belts, get in the back. Let's go start training. No, no, like, it's not a social event that you guys come here and hang out, right? But more and more junior black belts are stepping up at Austin Karate. So we are excited for the next steps. And some color belts, an up and coming color belts. I'm super excited about them. Can't wait to see them as a black belt. Yeah, it's a good vibe all over the place. I'm really, really excited.
That's great. So how did you ended up in Austin for work?
Yes, I used to work for Verizon in
Okay.
the East Coast, right? And then I got married, and she's from Texas. She's been grew up in Houston. And her mom, my mother-in-law, got sick. So she was flying back like every other day. My mom's in the hospital. I gotta go. And I'm like, well, you gotta stop doing that. We should move. There's nothing really in the DC area except for Morningstar that I'm really attached to. And it was hard for me to break that attachment. Um, but Austin would be the only city I would move. I told her I do not like Houston. Sorry, Master Sharp. I do not like Dallas. And working in the corporate world, I used to have connections, right? So I'm like, hey guys, I'm looking for a job in Texas, hook me up. So my resume got internally, sent to a company, and before you know, we're in Austin, Texas, right? So
I've
it
heard
was not Home Depot. I worked for another company for 5 years before jumping on
Gotcha.
Home Depot. Yes.
I've heard a lot about Austin. I've heard it's a great city. So
It's beautiful. It's getting more and more congested, but it's a beautiful city.
awesome. So let's talk about you. You mentioned earlier about competing as a color belt. I know that you're a pretty avid, fierce competitor. What drew you to competing? Just
Just love competing. It's
yeah,
just that adrenaline flowing, right? And and doing your forms and being one with the nature, right? And Master Sharp used to call me names. And when I do my forms, like my eyes pop out and everything, right? Um, but but yeah, I truly enjoyed competing, and I wish there's a masters competition someday. It's not a bad thing, right?
I'm with
Friendly
you.
competition.
Let's do
It's
it.
good.
You had quite a run in your region. How many
Yes,
years in a row? As grand
yes, I had a
champion?
run for 5 years in a row. Region is small, but excellent black belts, right? In the black belt division. It wasn't easy, right? But because of my competitive nature again, right? You just have to go and give it your all and try to win. Yes, it's like 5 years in a row, and the sixth year, 6 years in a row, and then seventh year, one of my students win the black belt grand champion. I'm like, hey, look, we keep it in the house, right?
Okay.
Yes, that was a good run. I truly enjoyed. People were bored though. People like, oh, Mukherjee won again. Okay, whatever, right?
Did you get a chance to compete at Worlds as well?
I did. The last world I compared in, I won gold in Kun Kun in my division. But I has always bad luck in sparring. Always would end up getting hurt and going to the tent. It happened twice as a black belt, right? Once I got a side kick to the chest, once I got a big punch to the chest, and I had my ribs bruised, and one time I have a crack in my ribs. It's crazy, right? I guess, you know, those are the reasons the decision was made for no contact, right? I guess, right? But I always had bad luck in sparring for some reason, right? But I enjoyed, my competition was great. I can say I truly enjoyed that in that level.
Yeah, it was fun. Our three or Master Wheeler says, "Stop whining."
I know, I know. I got knocked out twice,
Wow.
3 times, once as a kid.
No. Yeah, people ask me that every once in a while. I was like, "Oh, did you ever get knocked down?" It's like, "Yeah, I did a couple of times in sparring with the instructors." You just all of a sudden you're looking up at the ceiling.
Yes.
We actually did I think it was 3 years ago. We have an in-house tournament at Evolution, and we did instructors division. It was myself and Master Mabrook, Master Setianto.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. To dust off the competition, like you said, get the adrenaline going.
Hmm.
It was awesome.
Yes, a lot of fun.
Of course, Master Mabrook won, but it was still, it was fun.
Right.
um, let's see, what was I going to talk about? So we talked about the Masters Clinic a little bit. So after that, you did the World Championships. How much longer after that did you eventually get the invite to go to Masters Clinic?
Um, I waited quite a while. I got my third degree in 2007,
Okay.
and then I got invitation to go to master's camp in 2014. So I got the letter in December of 2013 when I was in vacation and in the Christmas time. And yeah, so I waited, what, 7 years?
We talked to Master Roman. Master Ishmael Roman waited 13.
Oh, you waited 13?
He waited 13 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I waited 6, so I had no room to complain.
Right.
Did you have any expectations or did anyone give you any thing as far as what to expect going to the clinic for the first time?
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Master G was, you know, the first master scam, she was always on top of that. I do this, don't do that. You gotta do this. I'm like, okay, still wait. And she's like my sister, right? we would fight, but she always got my back. And then Master Sharp, of course. When I got the letter, I came back from vacation. I'm like, drive to Houston. Sir, what do I need to train on, right? Yeah, so those two always have been amazing to me. And still today, something I need, I pick up Master G. Hey, what am I supposed to do? Right. So,
Yeah.
yes.
I think for me, when I went, the main thing I wanted to do is make my instructors and the people that put their time and effort into me. I wanted them to be proud. So it sounds like you're the same way as far as as far as the sharps go. You just wanted to
Yes.
represent for them and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. And the worst thing happened is on my second year test, I see Master Sharp as the judge, and I'm like, oh crap, right now, oh my God, he's gonna be watching me through the
yeah,
entire test. And I was nervous the entire test, so
yeah.
but yes, you're right. You represent your instructor in those camps, and the first thing you mess something up, and who's the instructor? The first thing people ask, right? So yeah, there is no opportunity for failure on in that situation, right? So I agree totally.
Yeah, but at the same time, people ask, people talk about testing, and I tell them, I was like, look, do you like to do tongue Sudol? Yeah, of course. That's all you're doing. Just go just go train. Shut up and train.
Right. And
Listen,
my philosophy always have been, I tell that to my students all the time, right? If you go into a testing thinking whether you're going to pass or fail, you shouldn't test.
right,
You should just say, hey, I'm not ready, right? I want to go into a test and in my mind, how good I want to look, or people are looking at me instead of the person next to me, right? I want to be the eye candy on the floor, right? If I'm not the eye candy, then probably I shouldn't be testing, right? And these days I struggle, like in the GUP level, people half and half sitting on the fence, want to test, go to the next rank. I'm like, what does it really mean, right? It's just a piece of cloth on your waist, right?
right.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone the other day where they're like a fourth GUP, and it's just like, oh, it's so long, and it's like, well, look at it this way. I was a GUP student for what, maybe all of 3 years. It's like, and then after that, you black belt and 2 years, 3 years plus. I was like, there's no rush.
Right.
Just train
Yes,
and
sir.
it'll, just keep showing up and it'll happen.
Yes, sir.
So we got an honorary Texan chiming in. Master Marco says, stay safe and say hello to Texas. Miss y'all.
Master Marco, hello.
Joe Vass, what was your thesis for master's degree?
It was on sparring.
Oh, okay.
It was in sparring and on Indian weapons, Indian martial arts sparring, and if you look into Indian myth, there's a lot of epics, and they're like kings and fightings and wars and bow and arrow and a lot of different martial arts weapons. Like they never call them martial arts. Those are more for survival. But now look back, you look at those as, yeah, these are martial arts weapons. Really, what is bow and arrow, right? What is a sword? And then they're fighting with swords all over the place, right? So my thesis was on sparring and Indian weapons and Indian martial arts, from old age to all the way to right now. There are a couple of Indian martial arts. I don't know if you know about it. In the south of India, they train with swords. It's called Kalari Patam or something like that. I cannot even pronounce it because I'm not from the south side. That's a whole different language, right? So yeah, that was my thesis on.
So what aspects of sparring did you talk about? Just combinations?
No sparring up with those weapons. The weapons were
Oh,
the
okay.
main thing, right?
Yeah.
And the picture of weapons, and some weapons, you look at that, it's a, what the heck I do with that, right? It's not always very obvious, right? And there is a one weapon with like a little stick on the bottom and the whole round thing on the top, almost like a hammer, big hammer, right? How do you attack with that? What is that called? So sparring is not about like empty hand sparring, but it's a
Right.
fighting with sparring with those weapons, right? Yes.
Cool. So did you take pictures and stuff of those things?
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures in that yeah, there's ton of pictures in there.
Huh,
Every weapon has a picture.
that's cool. I'd be interested in reading that.
Sure, I can send you a copy.
That'd be great. What inspired you? Were you into those martial arts as a kid, or as you got into the martial arts, like through Tang Sudo? Did you start to understand those things?
No, those you know, as I said, I grew up in India, so you're familiar with those epics. You were like you read those books, your mom or dad will read you those books, right? Then at the time, you only think about two kings fighting or two emperors are fighting, right? For their, who wants that piece of land, right? And that's where the old history is, right? At that time, I didn't know, but when I had to research, I'm like, what can I do to go back to um, my route, right? And do something on that research on that. And I was thinking about a lot of different things, and I'm like, you know what? There's some connection there about all those emperors and fighting with each other, why, and all these weapons, and then even I found a couple of books where people have research on that already. So I'm like, okay, so this is where I'm going. Yes.
Do you do you do any of that stuff in your dojang? Do you every once in a while? No.
I started doing some bow and arrow, but you know what? Bow and arrow started getting holes on the wall. Even you got that rubber tip,
Yeah.
um, and then I would miss the target all the time, and it'd go trajectory in an angle and big freaking holes after holes. I'm like, okay, I'm done with bow and arrow inside the studio. Packed it up.
Yeah. I talking about archery. Master Vaughn always talks about one of the books that he recommends to people is called Zen and the Art of Archery. I don't know if you've ever read that one. It's a
No.
great read. Um, there's a lot of correlation to what we do in the martial arts, and obviously, like you said, it's more or less a martial art.
Right.
Master Marco asks, have you trained any of the old traditional martial arts? You did your study for your thesis. Did you train any of the martial arts at all, or reach out?
No, I didn't have opportunity to train because um, before, when I graduated in India, right, I have a master's in computer science, and I was working, and before I could make money and start a living, I was here.
Right.
So, the same way, I haven't seen the entire India, right? We didn't have money growing up again, right? So we couldn't travel. So when I had the money, I left the country. So and when I go back once in a while, I still can get away because I have family, and they're like, "Well, come spend time with us." And so you cannot do anything at all except spending time with family and come back. So same thing with training, right? No, I couldn't. My life was busy going to school and be educated. That was the primary goal in those third world countries. If you're not, then you're a failure. That's how it goes. I couldn't make my living learning martial arts. It doesn't work that way. Maybe it does now, but
Right.
30 years ago it wasn't that way.
And then now somehow obviously you have another job, but you still are very successful in the martial arts world as well. So that's awesome. Uh,
Right. Yes.
you talked about your wife a little bit earlier, but obviously someone as busy as you with a full-time job, you got a full-time karate studio. Um, Talk about your wife and the support that she gives you, and just your family in general.
She has been always we're married for 21 years now, and she always supported my passion in Tang Soo Do. She always said, "Go do, I'll take care of everything else," right? If you don't have that, if you don't have the family support, You couldn't be at this level. It's almost impossible, right? So I truly adore her for doing that. Even when he first got married, we're in a tiny apartment in DC area, and I would be gone like 3 times a week, 2 hours a evening, and she didn't have any friends. She moved from Texas, right? She never complained. There's the early days, right? When I was a red belt and blue belt. And till today, right now I'm just gonna go Friday night, go teach a class, and she got my back, right? So yeah, she's amazing in that category. I always tried her to train. I'm like, hey, why don't you train? Just started training, you'd be a master by now. And but she's like, no, it's not for me, but I want you to do it, right? So yes.
Master G says Anita is the how do you say your name?
Anita?
Anita. Okay, she's
Yes.
the foundation of everything. Brilliant, beautiful, amazing, best butter chicken ever.
Well, between me and Master G and Master Sharp, food is the one common thing.
I'm
We
right.
love to eat.
Yeah, we. That's why you train hard so you can enjoy food.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Master Valentin says wives are the best. They are our rocks.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely agree with that
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're getting close to our hour. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrap up, or anything you want
Uh,
to share?
no, just one thing, what the pandemic has taught us through last year and a half now almost, right? Or more than a year. Um, you have to adapt. If you I see I'm part of a lot of martial arts groups in Facebook, right? Martial arts teachers and clubs, and there's so many schools closing down and closed down already, right? People I read every day, 20 years I have this martial arts school, I had to shut down. I believe you can survive, but if you're not, as human being, we don't want to change, but you have to change. And especially being very traditional martial arts instructors, you don't want to change, right? Nobody wants to accept change, but you have to change, you have to adapt. And this pandemic is gonna stay with us. COVID, maybe something else next year or year after. It's just gonna keep happening. And this is a new life, new beginning. So um, I look back and I did lose some students in 2020, but because we adapted so quickly to your students' needs, right? You got to talk to them. You got to send survey what they want, what they need, if you're caring enough that you can put your ego to the side and say, I'm going to change for betterment of my students, they can survive. And I want everybody in the World Tang Soo Do Association and every karate studio to survive this, right? It's not end yet. I mean, it's gonna keep going for another several months. So stay strong, survival of the fittest, right? Charles Darwin said that. You have to do whatever to survive, right? And you have to accept change. As long as you can do that, you should be just fine.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said, and I would also add that if anyone is out there is having trouble, that another great thing about the association is there are so many people out there willing to help and provide support and provide information if you
Yes,
need.
sir. Yes, sir.
Master Sharp says change is inevitable. How we handle that determines our success.
Yes,
And
sir.
that's
I truly agree, Master Sharp.
that's
And
it.
I learn a lot from Master Sharp every day. So, great man, great leader of Region 4 and WTSDA.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. Every time I get a chance to listen to him or train with him, I do my best to take advantage of that.
So, Master Sharp, write down what you call me. He calls me a name. He's gonna type. He's gonna say it. Did he?
No, there's probably a little bit of, I don't know what the delay is on it.
He calls me a stalker.
That's what Master G said that earlier.
Oh, she did. Yeah, I stalk him. I don't give up. He won't respond. I'll ping him again and again. He's like, stop stalking me, man. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just need an answer, right? Yes.
You're persistent. Perseverance,
I
right?
am. I
Oh, she said, Master G said he's teaching.
am. Okay.
Awesome. Well, hey man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with me. I enjoyed chatting and sharing your story. I hope that the next time we get to see each other sooner than later. Hopefully next March we'll get a chance to train together at Master's Clinic.
You gotta come visit. Visit us. You can stay with us. Cook you some biryani and Indian food, man. I'm telling you. And then we can train here. Right? Yes.
I need to do that. Oh, there you go. He just chimed in, stalker.
That's funny.
Yes, I need to. Yeah, we definitely need to make that happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate your support and for tuning in. And sir, have a great rest of the night. And Tong Su.
You too, Tang Su. Thanks for having me.
Yep. See you
All
guys.
right. You take care, sir.